Have you ever wondered who was the first person to smoke weed? No one knows their name. No one knows exactly when it happened, but somewhere in the ancient world, a human breathed in the smoke from a strange plant. That moment may have changed history forever. Today, weed is known across the world. Some people use it as medicine. Some use it for recreation. Others avoid it completely. But its story began thousands of years before any of those debates existed. Long before countries, long before writing, long before the first cities. Back then, humans lived much closer to nature. Every plant had potential. Some could feed you, some could heal you, some could kill you. Learning the difference meant survival. Among those plants was wild weed. It grew naturally across parts of Central Asia. Scientists still debate its exact birthplace, but most evidence points to the highlands of Central Asia as one of its earliest homes. To ancient humans, this was not a drug. It was simply another useful plant. Its tough fibers could be twisted into rope. Those ropes could build shelters. They could make fishing nets. They could help carry heavy loads. Its seeds were rich in nutrients. They could be eaten. They could also be pressed for oil. For thousands of years, weed was probably valued more for these practical uses than for its effects on the mind. But then something unexpected happened. Humans mastered fire. Fire changed everything. It cooked food. It scared away predators. It provided warmth. And it revealed hidden properties inside many plants. Some plants released pleasant smells. Others produced thick smoke. Some even changed the way people felt. At first, this was probably discovered by accident. Imagine sitting beside a campfire. Someone throws a bundle of dried weed onto the flames. The smoke rises into the air. People nearby breathe it in. Minutes later, they notice something different. Maybe they feel calmer. Maybe they laugh more. Maybe the world feels slightly different. Nobody knows exactly how the first discovery happened, but accidents have shaped human history before. The problem is that smoke leaves very little evidence behind. Ancient campfires disappear. Wood burns away. Leaves turn to ash. For a long time, archaeologists had no direct proof that ancient people intentionally smoked weed. They only had theories. Then, an incredible discovery changed everything. In the mountains of western China, archaeologists explored an ancient cemetery. The site was more than 2,500 years old. Inside several graves, they found small wooden braziers. These were simple containers used to burn materials. At first, they looked ordinary, but scientists examined the black residue left inside. The results were surprising. The residue contained chemical traces showing that weed had been burned. Even more interesting was the type of weed. It contained unusually high levels of THC. THC is the main compound responsible for the plant's intoxicating effects. Wild weed usually contains much lower amounts. This raised an important question. Were ancient people already choosing stronger plants? It is possible. Over many generations, they may have noticed that some plants produced stronger effects. Those plants could have been collected more often. Their seeds may have been planted again. Slowly, humans may have influenced the evolution of weed without even understanding genetics. There is another possibility. The plants may have naturally grown stronger in harsh mountain environments. High altitude can stress plants. Stress sometimes increases certain chemical compounds. Scientists are still investigating which explanation is correct. Either way, one thing seems clear. The people using those braziers were not burning random plants. They intentionally burned weed, and they likely inhaled the smoke. But why? That is harder to answer. The braziers were found inside burial sites. This suggests the smoke may have played a role in funeral ceremonies. Perhaps people believed it helped communicate with ancestors.
Perhaps it was meant to honor the dead.
Or perhaps it helped participants enter a spiritual state. No written records survive to explain their beliefs. All we have are clues, and those clues continue to grow. Ancient India also developed a long relationship with weed. Some religious traditions connected it with meditation and spiritual practice. In certain ceremonies, it was believed to help people focus their minds. Those traditions have survived for thousands of years. Ancient China also knew the plant well. Most early records described practical uses. Weed provided fiber. It provided food. It was sometimes used in medicine. Ancient medical texts mention preparations made from different parts of the plant. Exactly how those medicines affected people is still debated. The records are old, the translations are difficult, and the recipes often combined several different plants. Farther west, another culture left behind an important clue: the Scythians. They were nomadic people who traveled across the vast grasslands of Eurasia. Around 2,400 years ago, the Greek historian Herodotus described one of their unusual rituals. He wrote that they entered small enclosed tents. Then they threw weed onto hot stones. The space quickly filled with thick smoke. According to Herodotus, the participants shouted with joy. For centuries, many historians questioned his story. Some believed he exaggerated. Others thought he misunderstood what he had seen. Then archaeology stepped in once again. Excavations uncovered objects remarkably similar to the ones he described. Scientists also found chemical traces connected to burned weed. Suddenly, Herodotus seemed much more reliable. His strange story may have been true after all. As human societies expanded, weed traveled with them. Trade routes connected distant civilizations. Merchants carried seeds. Nomads crossed mountains. Travelers exchanged ideas. Plants moved alongside people. Over many centuries, weed spread into the Middle East, then Europe, later Africa. Eventually, it reached the Americas through much later historical events. Each culture gave the plant a different meaning. Some valued its fibers. Some valued its seeds. Some used it in healing. Others used it during ceremonies. Its purpose changed from place to place. But one mystery still remains. Why does weed affect humans at all? The answer lies inside your own body. Every human has what scientists call the endocannabinoid system. It helps regulate mood, memory, pain, sleep, appetite, and many other important functions. Your body naturally produces chemicals that interact with this system every day. THC happens to fit many of the same receptors, almost like a copied key fitting into an existing lock. The plant did not evolve for humans. Scientists believe these chemicals originally helped protect the plant from environmental stress, harsh sunlight, insects, and other threats. Yet, by coincidence, the human brain responds to them. That coincidence created one of the longest relationships between humans and any wild plant. Weed is not the only plant with this story. Coffee contains caffeine. Tobacco contains nicotine. Poppies produce opioids. Nature has always been full of powerful chemicals. Curious humans eventually discovered many of them. Sometimes those discoveries improved lives. Sometimes they caused harm. Often, they did both. Weed became part of that complicated history. Even today, scientists continue to study it. Researchers investigate its medical benefits, its possible risks, its long-term effects, and its influence on the brain. New discoveries appear almost every year, yet many ancient questions remain unanswered. Did Ice Age hunters know about weed? Maybe, but no direct evidence has been found. Did people first discover its effects by accident? That seems very likely. Did some ancient communities intentionally grow stronger plants? The archaeological evidence suggests they probably did. But history rarely gives us complete certainty. Instead, it gives us fragments, tiny seeds buried in ancient soil, chemical traces trapped inside forgotten braziers, ancient writings that survived thousands of years. Each discovery adds another piece to the puzzle. Together, they reveal an incredible story. The history of weed is not simply the history of a plant, it is the history of human curiosity, of observation, of experimentation, of culture, of migration, and of our endless desire to understand the natural world. Somewhere in the distant past, an unknown person watched smoke rise from a fire. They took a breath. They noticed something unusual. They could never have imagined that thousands of years later, people around the world would still be talking about that same plant. We often think of weed as something modern, but its roots reach deep into human history. From ancient mountain rituals to forgotten burial sites, it has traveled beside our species for thousands of years. Its role has changed with every civilization. Sometimes it was a tool, sometimes a medicine, sometimes a sacred plant, and sometimes simply a mystery waiting to be understood. The first person who smoked weed will probably remain unknown forever, but the story they unknowingly began is still unfolding today. If you want to know anything else about ancient humans, feel free to comment below.